Have you ever heard that dieting leads to weight gain, but you're unsure where this comes from?
Yeah, it's a myth.
I'm Chelsea, a registered dietitian, and let's talk about it. Multiple studies have shown that the act of dieting leads to more weight gain. It's your body's way of protecting itself. You have biological mechanisms in place to trigger that weight gain. Essentially, your body thinks that it's starving yourself. This dates back to when there were periods of feast and famine, and your body doesn't know that you're essentially choosing to restrict your calories on purpose. You don't believe me? Let's take The Biggest Loser study, for example. Remember that show? I used to be obsessed with The Biggest Loser because I thought it would gain all these little tips and tactics to lose weight. Turns out, not worth it. The Biggest Loser study showed that compared to at baseline, the contestants' metabolisms were suppressed on average of 500 calories. That means that they were burning 500 fewer calories per day. Over time, that leads to weight gain. To help you survive fewer calories coming in, one way your body protects itself is by lowering your metabolism. Think about it. If you were ever engrossed in weight loss and dieting, you probably were told to cut 500 calories a day and you'll lose a pound a week. Well, the same thing happens in reverse. If your metabolism is suppressed and you're burning 500 fewer calories, you're going to gain weight over time. And of course, when you're starting a diet, this is not your intended outcome. But this is just one reason that dieting leads to weight gain over time. There's a whole lot more going on in your body that we can discuss of why dieting leads to weight gain. So if you want to learn more about this, like for part 2.
Well, I have wanted an excuse to talk about this study for the longest time. Let's get into it. The study she's talking about is this one published in 2016. The study took 14 people who had lost significant amounts of weight on the show Biggest Loser 6 years after their appearance and directly measured their resting metabolic rate, which is the amount of energy you expend just by existing. They then used baseline data from the participants such as fat mass, fat-free mass, age, etc., and they used a linear regression model to develop this equation to get a predicted resting metabolic rate. What they observed is that the participants' measured metabolic rate was on average 500 calories lower than the predicted value. Now that sounds dandy, but let's look at the formula they used to predict what the participants' resting metabolic rate should be. 1001 plus 21.2 multiplied by fat-free mass in kilos plus 1.4 multiplied by fat mass in kilos minus 7.1 multiplied by the age of the participant plus 276 multiplied by 0 if the participant is a woman and 1 if the participant is a man. Believe it or not, the same day I seen this TikTok by an athlete who posted his body measured composition. And as you can see, lucky for us, it includes his measured resting metabolic rate. I plugged in his values into the formula from the Biggest Loser study, and what I found is odd to say the least. According to this study, his RMR should be a good 3,228 calories in a day, which is 443 calories higher than the measured value. That's odd. That means this person has a damaged metabolism. Or does it? One problem with the Biggest Loser study is there's no control group to compare the participants with and verify the formula. So I used various formulas that have been tested against measured values as to predict this person's RMR. And as you can see from this chart I made, they're way closer. Most of these formulas say this observed value is actually a bit higher than expected, and using the data from this paper, I found that for an obese male of his size, his RMR is actually a little bit on the higher side. But there's one formula that says his metabolism is 442 calories lower than expected, and that's the Biggest Loser formula. But wait, there's more. Actual researchers are saying the exact same thing I am. This paper published by Ostendorf and colleagues in 2018 predicted the RMR of a group of weight loss maintainers using 3 different models based on the RMRs of normal weight controls and obese control group and a group consisting of both. They used 3 established RMR formulas and included the formula from the Biggest Loser paper. I made this chart to show you the results. As you can see, all the formulas produce numbers that are pretty close to the measured value, but the one exception is the Biggest Loser formula. But who's to say only the Biggest Loser formula is valid. It's unlikely, but not impossible. But that's where the control groups come in. In obese and normal weight control groups that haven't lost weight, the Biggest Loser formula also overestimated how high their metabolism should be. There's so much more I want to say, but I'm going to cut it here.
Either it's all her fault and she's just lazy, or she's got every excuse in the world.
Yeah, I got time today. It was actually hard to nail down which video of yours I wanted to stitch because there are that many hot takes. What kills me about these trainers is they pay to take an exam, they get a piece of paper that says you are qualified to help people with exercise now, and they think that makes them a doctor, a dietitian, a therapist. Your job is to teach people about exercise. That's it. And y'all go to cdc.gov. See what they say about obesity? It's bad. Body positivity, bad. Let me tell you that building a foundation of behavioral change for your clients upon shame, guilt, self-loathing, hating their body, that makes you lazy. But fat shaming worked for me. Someone did it and I lost 40 pounds. Great. And now you also have body dysmorphia and a disordered relationship with food and exercise. Good job. If you work in fitness and you are unwilling to learn what body positivity is, at least stay in your fucking lane.
That hypocrisy right there, that's finger licking. So they're not qualified to comment on obesity, but your degree in exercise physiology is enough to dismiss what the Center for Disease Control says about obesity. Oh, that's rich. Here's the original video that she stitched.
Look at them, can't wait, can they? So lazy and greedy, heart attack coming soon.
When we judge someone, we tend to lean to one or the other. It's either it's all her fault and she's just lazy, or she's got every excuse in the world why she's overweight. In reality, it's a combination of personal responsibility and personal circumstances, but we don't know for sure of which one is influencing the behavior more.
Notice nowhere does he say anything about body positivity. All he says is obesity is the result of behaviors caused by a combination of circumstance and personal responsibility, which is not controversial at all.
Hi, I'm back again to keep discussing desirability politics because apparently I can't shut up about it. That's probably because in the positions of privilege that I hold as a white, cis, hetero, small fat, it's the only way that my body type really affects my day-to-day life. So just acknowledging that up front. I saw some videos today from some of my mutuals that talked a little bit about dating preferences, and it inspired me. So one of them was from Plus Size Blanco, who's incredible. If you don't follow her, go follow her. And it was a response to a comment on a video that she had stitched that was like this person being like, stop acting like it's fatphobic to not want to date fat people, which it is. And before people come for me, that doesn't mean that people aren't allowed to have preferences. But a preference is based on what you do like, not on what you don't like, what you prefer. So if you meet a fat person and you're not attracted to them and you don't want to date them because you're not attracted to them, that's not fatphobic. If you meet a fat person and you are attracted to them but you don't want to date them because you know that your boys are going to be like, oh, moped, then that is fatphobic. But what really is like macro fatphobic is when you make a blanket statement, I don't date fat people. It's 2022, so I think most people know that you don't go around saying, I don't date this type of person. You would never say, like, I don't date black people, I don't date, etc.
I don't date women. See how easy that was? Am I sexist now? That's what logically follows from your statement. If a straight guy doesn't date me because I'm a man, is he homophobic? This is so silly. Attractions are not logical, they're inherent. No women can logic their way into my pants. For the same reason, a fat person can't logic their way into some people's pants because you have a trait that person is not attracted to.
That's not the same as being confronted with attraction from a person of that group and feeling like, you know what, I'm not feeling it. Me, you. Because attraction, it's a person-to-person thing. You might think that something isn't what you're into, and then you meet someone and like all of a sudden that goes out the window. So in that vein of race, another one of my mutuals, Brown Honey TV, had gotten a question like, do you have a racial preference? And she acknowledged a preference that she might have, but that she's open to any race. And that is how a preference works. You can say, in general, I'm attracted to like fit, athletic people. I'm a gym rat. I like to be up in the gym. So it's important to me that my partner is too. That, of course, does not actually automatically assign somebody a certain body type. But if in the same breath you say, so I would never date a fat person, that's no longer a preference. It's for lack of a better term, discrimination. It's like,
Wow, you just erased the existence of the entire gay community. I can guarantee you there's not one woman that I am sexually attracted to.
as Brown Honey TV was saying in her video, she's like, no, I can't go around being like, no, I would never date a white guy, even though reverse racism, not a real thing. It is still a generalization. You should never discount a romantic partner based on like a group that they belong to, unless it's like the KKK. You know what I mean? Demographic group. So I think like that's the difference that keeps getting missed in these conversations about like, it's not fat phobic to not date fat people. It is if it's based in a cultural understanding and belief about what it means to be a fat person. If you choose not to date fat people because you like fit people, then that's you stereotyping. There are a lot of fit, healthy people who live in larger bodies. If you're not attracted to a person that lives in that larger body, then that's okay. You can't just say like full stop, like, no, I would never date a fat person. It is dehumanizing to fat people, and let's be honest, it's based in societal expectations.
This was such an interesting video, but what I'd love to know is, would she apply this same logic to men who only date fat women?
Weight loss won't fix body image. Hi, I'm Songbird Story. I grew up in a health cult. As a result of that and severe childhood abuse, I ended up with 3 restrictive eating disorders, the main one being anorexia. And I used to be in a very thin body. Now through recovery, in order to be healthy, I am in a small fat body. And take it from me, losing weight is not going to fix your body image issues. Healing is going to come from addressing your own fat phobia. And in learning to rebuild trust with your body that it knows what size you need to be. It knows where you need to be healthy. It's a process, and you may need professional help getting there. It's not going to be a quick fix. But weight loss isn't the answer you're looking for.
Your experiences are your own. In my experience, it sure did fix my body image, and according to reviews published by Lisikiewicz and colleagues in 2014 looking at the psychological outcomes of weight loss interventions, weight loss in some not only improves self-esteem, but reduced depressive symptoms, improved body image, improved health-related quality of life. To say weight loss absolutely won't improve body image is contrary to not only published research, but contrary to my own lived experiences. A better way to phrase this would be weight loss didn't improve my body image. And that's fine, because your experiences are your own. They're not mine, and they're not many others. Your experiences are tragic, but the thing about them is that they're yours. You have trauma related to being in a health cult. So weight loss doesn't help your self-esteem, and that's okay. And your advice might actually be helpful to someone with that experience. But what you're doing is extending this advice to people who don't share your experiences. Let me give you an example from my own life. I paid for a massage while I was in Korea. The lady did nothing wrong, but with me dealing with an anxiety disorder, I fucking hated the entire experience. Every second sucked. Now, what if I used my own experience to tell people without an anxiety disorder, oh, don't do that because I hated it, and it didn't improve my mood? It wouldn't make sense because my issues don't extend to them.
I'm probably going to get a little bit of hate for this, but it needs to be said.
It really does not. What is with y'all and this obsession with fat people? Like, I really don't get it. Somebody else is living their life that has literally nothing to do with you, and you just are obsessed with like manipulating and controlling what they do. You're studying to be a fitness trainer. Does that make you a doctor? Like, do y'all understand the amount of fat phobia in like medical practice already? And why do y'all think that being fat is so bad? There's nothing wrong with being bigger, and who cares? Like, people can't control all the time how big they are. If somebody wants to lose weight, great, that's awesome on them. But also, if they don't want to and they're happy the way they are, fuck off. Like, y'all claim to give a fuck about fat people all the fucking time, but you refuse to listen when they tell you to fuck off. Y'all are so fucking annoying. Focus on yourself because you are clearly insecure.
Previously, I expressed the opinion that as long as you don't bother others, it doesn't matter if you're fat. But as of recent, I've come to realize that we don't live in a society in which behaviors that damage your health only affect you. Here in the US, time and time again, obesity has been shown to drive up overall healthcare costs. But aside from that, it also directly affects people around you. I have heard one too many stories about healthcare workers getting seriously injured from massively overweight patients. And add to that the pain of being a loved one to someone who has eaten themselves into poor health. We do not really live in a society in which obesity only affects the obese person, which is why saying something about it is that much more important.